Well, I'm sort of hopeful that this thing that I bought a while back, plus the thing that's in this little package, will make a Frankenpen. But one never knows, because when you buy something on eBay, you don't have the luxury of trying it out first. This looks like tiny compared to what I thought. I thought it was like 3 times bigger than what it is. So it's not going to fit in that pen. That's for darn sure. What made me think this was going to be big? Hate when that happens. Hello, Melissa Smith. So here is when it gets done unraveling. Please don't be broken. I thought this was like going to be twice as big. Feels like the iridium is still there, which of course is what we want it to feel like. So this is not going to fit. I mean, it'll go in this pen, but it will be stupid, so I'm going to put that back. Okay, let me find another dip pen body for it. This one. Well, this isn't the right cap. And hold. This goes here. No. Well, let's just put this in here and see how it works. If it works. Doesn't want to fit. Try another one. This is why building Frankenpens is not always easy, because there's a lot of trial and error. No. Let's try another one. That's too small. This is going to be too big. That's going to be just right. Maybe. Why doesn't it fit in here again? What was the problem here? Maybe I just was not applying enough force. Seems like it would fit really nicely in this pen. Look at how, I wonder if it would fit like this. It's so long and elegant looking. Well, the nib isn't broken, so that's good. It doesn't really have doesn't quite have the flex that I thought it would have. Again, that's the problem when you buy something on eBay. You have no idea how it's actually going to write. What is this in here? Okay, put that there. Okay, this one, maybe this will fit in here. Sterling overlay. It's a perfectly nice nib. It's not here. I expected it to be very fine, and it's not as fine as I thought it would be. It starts out sort of broad and gets broader. Just put it back from in its original container here. See here, it doesn't write badly here. Maybe I'll just leave it there for the moment. But while I'm here, do I have something I can put in this pen? Is that doable? Since I'm here, I've got a pen to put in. No, it doesn't fit in that one. I want this to fit. I'm just gonna put it in here. I'm just gonna put it in here, and I'm gonna leave it in here just to remind myself that I shouldn't always expect. It'll be an object lesson. That's the right word. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a perfectly good Frankenpen. So this will go into my Frankenpen area. This will go up here. This will go up here. Oops, not that one. That will go up here. Could it fit in here? Look at this nice chased black hard rubber thing. What can I put in here? Who made this pen? Salts. Salts pen. Does this fit in there? I found a bunch of nibs that I sort of put aside because I didn't have, they were weird named nibs. Maybe I can find one to put in this pen. Very nice nib on this one, but it needs to go in further. Good. Another pen saved. This can go with my salts. Hey, Russell, would you like to join me, please? Russell and I were talking about the possibility of doing an art show together, maybe. We had a thought of doing it here in Boston, my building, which we can still do. But he also had the idea of maybe doing it down in his neck of the woods. If you don't know Russell's new work, you should take a look at it. It's breathtakingly amazing. I look at it and I think, where does one get the time to do that? Hello.
Hello.
You're
How's it going?
in the great outdoors.
Yeah. I sent you a message earlier. I don't know whether you got the chance to see it over Skype.
Oh, I didn't. I'll look at it right now though, and I won't share it with the rest of the people, but I'll look
Yeah.
at it. Hold on. I need to get a power cord anyway. So I've been thinking, Russell, about the idea of this show. I went to an art opening yesterday for the first time in ever, and it was really kind of neat to see art on the wall and an opening and stuff. It's been a long time since I've seen a one-person show, and I miss it. I miss the excitement of that. It was one of my neighbors in the building had a show of his paintings. So
Who is that?
his name is Adam Lavelle, and
yeah, that's who I was thinking. I was just having trouble recalling.
He has those beautiful plein air oil paintings that are just, and he paints the same things that I paint. I draw nice, urban blight, chain link fence, alleyways, and that kind of stuff. So the pieces that you're showing, the black and white drawings on your feed and on Instagram, is there a title for those that sort of pull them all together?
Oh, I've been calling them whistling through the graveyard.
Okay.
I feel like that was about right. I don't know. It sounded vaguely spooky.
Yeah.
I'm
I just,
working on another one right now, actually.
oh, good. I would love if you are willing to take pictures of the pencil before you ink it up, just to see
Yeah,
how much
how much everything changes.
how much planning goes into it, and then how much you let the inking decide
Oh yeah.
how to alter it.
Well, I can tell you right now, there's generally tends to be a lot of planning going into it.
Well, I would think with all of the perspective that you have to figure out and the patterns to recede in perspective
Yeah.
and everything, I would think that there is a lot that you'd have to organize, and
And
then
if you really want to, you can get absolutely maniacal with these damn things. Well, when you're working with perspective,
yes,
because I mean, once you have those points, you can start putting everything into perspective, and then things get really crazy and obsessive.
well, I noticed that most of your lines that most of the time you follow the 1 point perspective rules. I know that it seems like you do tweak it a bit when it comes to receding the checkerboard patterns, because they would get infinitely smaller as you go back, but that would make it that would end up almost making too much gray area, where you sort of exaggerate the well
Yeah,
you don't
I understand. I don't.
you choose not to add as many squares as what would be there
Right.
as it goes off. If you were to look at a floor plan if you were looking straight down at that floor, you would have the back squares would be huge, the ones way in the distance. Well, you know what I'm saying. Our dear listeners may not understand, but I like the fact that also keeps the picture flat, and then it fucks with your head.
Right, because you're getting multiple areas of depth with
and it's being denied.
Yeah, whenever you're being granted access to one area, one area of depth, yeah, one element that you could feel like a space where you could enter into, all the other spaces are immediately flattened out.
Yeah, and it's sort of it's a very weird feeling.
Sensation.
It's sort of you it's not vertigo, it's sort of the horizontal vertigo. It's like when you zoom in on a camera, the depth, the things in the distance zoom in faster than the things in the foreground or something. So
I see.
but
I mean, it's sort of I mean, I'm trying to. It's sort of like with your work, where when you gaze at a piece of a cardboard box, immediately, you know, you stop once you start gazing at these things, you stop codifying these things as they are as objects,
Uh,
and you start to uh, animate them, or like animate them in the sense like anima, like where you give them a
uh,
soul, uh,
uh,
a human aspect.
yes.
And in fact, I was actually listening or re-listening, because the first time people were distracting me and I didn't get a very good listen to this guy give a talk about sort of two directors. You know Hayao Miyazaki, right?
Uh, I no. I mean, I don't know the name. I might know the work, but
He's a Japanese animator. He did My Neighbor Totoro and uh, Nausicaa, and yeah, and oh, Spirited Away.
okay.
So, well, the guy was discussing essentially um, the way that he addressed the moving image
Hmm.
uh, as in his animated films, as opposed to how Western artists would do so. So Western artists immediately headed towards that notion of perspective. Like,
Yeah.
have you ever seen the old MGM Studios techniques where they would have the backgrounds that looked really realistic and try and create as much of a sense of space as possible?
Uh-huh.
So with Miyazaki and his films, the guy who was talking noticed essentially that in many of the most spectacular scenes,
Uh-huh.
everything was just sort of moving from left to right. It was completely flattened.
Okay.
And he pointed out something that you pointed out, basically, is the idea that there's sort of two ways of looking at the image, where one is Cartesian, where it's using perspective to create a sensible, contained world, and the other is just where the image is nothing but a flattened thing that can be put onto other things.
Okay.
And it's something that you can use again and again in different variations.
So you're
So I would say that's the commonality between what you're doing and what I'm doing. What I'm doing with perspective essentially is what you're doing with your cardboard boxes.
uh-huh.
Essentially taking the thing and having it play variations upon itself. It's not a sensible system. It's something, or it's not a sensible system or a self-contained object. It's a set of qualities that can be rearranged and changed around.
Okay.
Am I getting too esoteric?
Well, I think I understand what
Maybe
you're driving at, but
I can describe it this way, like a lemon.
okay.
What? Like, let's take a lemon. What is a true lemon?
Um,
Like, what is the lemon could we ever find one day a lemon that is so lemon, that is so unique, that has that thing? Could we isolate the thing that makes the lemon uniquely a lemon, right?
okay.
Is there a thing that the lemon does not share with any other thing that makes it a lemon?
I'm not sure. Uh, I imagine there's something that only it has and nothing else has.
Well, I mean, you can take a look at it. Even if you were to eliminate all the oranges from the world, for example, the lemon still has a peel, which an apple has a peel.
Yeah.
But you can also call it the skin of the lemon. So you and I have skin. And if we eliminated ourselves from the world, then we wouldn't be around to analyze the lemon.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that what we end up doing is in order to describe the lemon, we end up breaking it down into a set of characteristics. Lemons are yellow or maybe green when they're not ripe.
Yeah.
They have bumpy flesh. They are sour, things like that.
Yeah.
And so the lemon isn't a thing in itself. It's a set of these characteristics that combine together a certain way form lemon.
I see. If
you were somehow able to, and if you were somehow able to pull apart all of those things and rearrange them, you could end up with something other than lemon.
Yes. I understand. I think
is whatever it takes to get me to shut up about lemons.
Just don't talk about bananas. No.
Well, no, we have no bananas today.
We have no bananas today, no.
But that's just sour grapes.
So what am I doing today? I'm about to have another broadcast at 3:00, I think, with a person who's trying to get me to find a pen for him, or a couple of pens for him. So it'll be fun to see if I can narrow down what I think he needs. He sent me as a example of wanting a pen to write thin. He sent me a grain of rice that he wrote my name on and the word fine on a grain of rice, which I showed in an earlier video today. So you can see it there. I was holding it in tweezers and it went flying off into the hinterland, so I don't think I'll ever find it again. But so anyway, he'll be talking to me in about an hour. Hopefully I'll be able to hone down kind of what he's looking for. Marilyn, are you still in the room? Marilyn, darling, I've got pens that I'm thinking I want to send to you. And I have pens for Effextinol. I'm going to try to, I know I've been saying this for years, or months rather, get these pens ready to be sent off, but I just have a hard time. Every time I sit here, I end up finding a pen I want to keep for myself. So
it's the eternal problem of the pen collector.
That means that, I don't pay my bills and my electricity is turned off, so.
Did you get your electricity back on, by the way?
It is back on, yes.
Okay, good.
So, Ms. Marilyn, can I show you some of the pens I put aside for you, if I can find out where I put them? I don't even remember now where I put them. That wasn't it. There are some that I have that have nice, prickly, flexible nibs, but I somehow think they would work better not writing as large as you do, but writing smaller. So, it's just like some pens just are gonna, like for example, this one, a little, it has, this is going to be like that Waterman that you thought was stiff, though. That's what's so weird. Maybe I'll send that to Barbara. Hey, effects and all.
It's been a while since I've seen or heard from Aphex Technol or FX Technol.
He and a few other, he in Canada and Friedrich and I speak on yet a different app that Effectinol told me about, and it allows, it's sort of just like Skype or anything else, but it's the only way that he was talking to Canada. And so I figured, well, I want to talk to Canada. So we ended up using this other app. So that's sometimes where the conversations happen. So Effectinol, what did you think of the pens that the video I sent for Apple Boom pens? Did you respond to me about that? I can't remember. All these pens that I'm putting aside here are really good for springy calligraphy. Here's a Salts pen. Salts.
So right now you're conjoining pens together.
There are pens I put aside that are perfectly legitimate pens in their own right that I thought would be nice for certain people, and I'm trying to remember what they were because they're all in different places now, and that's what happens in my life. I end up moving things around and then I forget where I moved them to.
That's my entire existence, I can tell you that.
There's Schiavello's here. Speak of other people that we never see anymore. Hello, Schiavello.
Hello.
So, one of the things, Russell, I'm trying to figure out with pens are what would be a good one for people to practice doing their calligraphy with, not necessarily to do the calligraphy, but to just have to be able to get their arms moving in the right direction. And that's part of what I'm doing, is trying to select the right pen for that purpose. Why is this jiggly? Oh, Russell went away. Did his battery die? Oh, okay. Phone overheated. We hate that. We hate when that happens. Okay, what I'm going to do, you guys talk. Does anyone else want to join that isn't overheating? I'll just copy you to the clipboard here. Join and chat if you want, Effects Null or Friedrich. And I'm just going to try to clear this disk off so I can make sense of it when I talk with this other guy. I also need to plug, charging plug. Tina, I can't help you. I've given you your food. I've scratched you. I've done everything I'm supposed to do. Okay, my thing is at 22%. So let me know when I should look at it again. Now, what can I put here on the floor? This is going to go here. This is going to go here. Fuck. I just dropped something on the ground, which of course I can't find because I don't have any light in my house. Okay, Effects Technol, you are in charge.
Oh no.
You decide the conversation while I
Sign me up and give me reins.
I try to clear a space where I can actually function with.
Well, get yourself functioning and I'll do my best to MC, Master of Ceremonies. Hello, everybody. Yeah, the wheels on the bus go round and round. Why does my face look exceptionally shiny today?
Have you been sticking it into the bowling ball?
No, it's weird because
buffer?
it's not even like my skin's oily or anything. Is it because of this light? Oh yeah, that's terrible. It's really dark and overcast outside too. I am doing all right, I guess. How are you doing, Marilyn? Apparently you're on a bus. It's because I'm beautiful. Yeah, I don't know about that. Don't know about that. Oh, Frederick's already steering the conversation into the gutter because I'm here, apparently.
Oh, good. Well, I'm sorry I'm missing it, but I need to
That's
get
right.
this.
Mitch shows up and the conversation immediately turns juvenile. I love that you're writing on those graph chart things that went in those machines.
Bristol's recorder.
Yeah. Now, see, those machines that used to have like rolls of paper or this circles like you're writing on right now.
Yeah.
The way they used to work, as I can recall it, is the paper was soaked with some sort of chemical, and the little finger that came out that actually wrote on the paper was electrical.
Yes.
And it used an electrical connection to create a little bit of heat.
Yeah.
And the heat is what actually change the color of that chemical to
It's
black or
it's
something.
thermography or thermo something or other,
Yeah.
where the
Well, that stuff isn't built into the paper, right? They actually had to like put a chemical in the machine.
I think it's no, I don't think it's on the machine. It's on the paper because I can make it work with my just a nail on
Oh,
it.
so it's like receipt paper then.
It's like receipt paper,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
except I think that because of the little needle on the graph, you're that moves so slowly over, unless there's an earthquake, then it moves fast. But I think they actually heat that up. It's a heated element, so it's heat that causes the thing to change
Right.
the
It's
color.
the higher temperature. Kind of like if you leave a receipt on a dashboard of a hot car, it turns black. Marilyn said, I went to a doctor's appointment to get some antibiotics and pain meds, and now I'm on the way down south to have my doctor there fill out paperwork.
This is for Will Hodge. I've been using it a lot, and I really like
What
it.
is
It's
Will
a
getting? A Parker 51?
Parker 51, aerometric, which see this pen here. I might send this to the woman that wants to. I mean, even Marilyn Darling would like this one. It's Boinga Boinga, but it's short. It's a little Schaefer ladies pen.
That's pretty nice.
It came back from someone, and
Well, whatever you do, just don't sell that Mitch guy any more pens.
I've got all sorts of pens for you, dear.
I hope so.
Would you like to see them?
I don't want to twist your arm or force you to do things you don't want to do, but
Okay, we've got this little Parker
oh yeah,
blue one. I don't think you
little
needed
Parker
this.
Jr.
I don't think you needed this green thing. You wanted a
Ooh, a Taperite.
Paperite.
Yeah,
Um,
I like the green thing too. It's the little Triumph nib thing, right?
yeah, I think so.
Like an Imperial 2-3, something like that.
Well, here's one with the silver nib, and here's one with the gold.
They honestly, there's not really any difference between the silver and the gold. They write pretty much the same.
And here's a snorkel. Why do you want that? I don't know. Here's
Certainly.
a blue thing, and another blue thing, and a little blue tuckaway thing, and another blue thing. And
Oh dear. Well, I like Persian blue. And I think I only have one Persian blue Schaefer right now.
Marilyn, you would not want this pen. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that
Those nibs are kind of soft, but they're not really like flexy, I wouldn't say.
This is a big golf ball of a nib that sometimes you
Oh,
like.
well, I like golf ball tipping pins, so.
So here's another.
Oh, sweet. The Taperite has that gold cap with the stripes.
You like that kind?
That's the one that I wanted too.
Well, the issue with those are they tend to get worn, or they can get worn.
I don't really care about that.
So to get one that's in really nice shape.
Well, those caps are like made out of aluminum or something, aren't they?
Huh?
The caps are aluminum on those, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they get banged up so easy.
No, I think this gray one is what, if I'm selling it, it has a really, I think Friedrich wanted this one.
Yeah, Friedrich has been in a inlaid nib kind of kick here, it seems like.
That goes in the Friedrich pile. What's this one?
I mean, I like inlaid nibs too, but I especially like them when they're attached to PFMs. But
And I like when the PFM is attached to a hunky surfboarder.
Of course you would, Pierre.
How's that for? Oh, I have to show you something. I hope this isn't going to gross anyone out. It won't. It was very funny. It was a friend of mine on Instagram.
How risque are you going to get here, Pierre?
I'm not going to get risque at all.
Okay, it's not channel deleting. Okay.
It's not channel deleting.
All
and
right.
I think she would approve. So my friend Emma, who's the daughter of friends of mine, and she posted a picture of, okay, where are you? No, Instagram, dear. Thank you.
Marilyn's wrote, I want them to make a blue Parker Vacuumatic desk pen.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
What you have to do.
I've got a blue Vacuumatic, but it ain't a desk pen.
Marilyn, this is what you need to do. You need to invent a time machine, go back into the 30s or whenever they were being made, 40s.
Yeah, 30s, 40s.
And you have to tell someone at the Parker company to make one because they don't exist. I don't think they exist. So let me just find this thing here. Anyway, my friend Emma, I won't tell you her name, but I'm just trying to read exactly what she wrote. I will describe in words what the picture is.
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with the picture. It's just, it shows essentially, people on a mountain. Okay.
All right.
And she says, October 4 through 10, approximately 60 straight hours of overwhelming glee and adoration. And I looked at the pictures, and there was a picture of a particular person who, when I looked on his profile, you saw something that looked like this. I'm just going to show you. Zoom in.
Right.
So we don't have something like that.
Uh-huh.
And I said, 60 straight hours of admiration. I'll give him 120 gay hours of admiration.
All week long admiration.
I will do twice that. Anyway, why am I bringing that up? So he could be at the end of a PFM, and I'll learn to like that pen. I promise you.
You don't like PFMs in their standard form then, huh?
Not by themselves. I have two.
Yeah.
And I don't trust those inlaid nibs, and I don't trust snorkels. And
I've had awesome luck with snorkels, and the PFMs may well just be my number one top 3 pens of all time.
Well, so here's that paper.
Oh yeah, it's got a shiny coating on it.
And here's the back end of a scissors.
Huh.
Or my fingernail.
Right. Just that little bit of friction changes it.
So, but when the thing is going slowly over an hour, it's going to go from here to here. You need something other than friction, because that's not
right,
going to do
because
it.
it's going so slow.
The heat is what makes it record. So did you see
the people that was in the background? That was my mom and my brother, by the way.
Oh,
they just left. If anybody saw that,
I didn't. I missed them.
Well, they must have snuck out real fast then. Because like right there, that's my front door. So.
Did you see my recording for?
Well, what I wrote to you yesterday was a crazy day.
Okay.
It's probably the first time I haven't been home most of the day in a really, really long time. But I woke up and I had a frantic email from my grandmother
Oh dear.
I don't know exactly what happened, but my grandma went out and bought a cell phone because my grandpa's cell phone was running out of its plan or whatever. And it's some cheap, like, pay as you go cell phone thing. So somehow in the process of my grandma's trying to switch these phones over, she deactivated her cell phone, my grandpa's cell phone, and my cousin's cell phone, and was pulling her hair out, losing her mind because nobody's phones worked and they were missing calls. And
Oh no.
so I had to go over there and
So
put out fires all day.
you were the expert.
I am the family tech support man, yes.
Yes.
When everybody breaks everything, they wait until it's really broken and then they call Mitch.
Now, do you put on a fake Indian accent for that?
No, I
You
don't.
don't do that. Okay.
I understand your frustration.
Yes. That sounds more like a bad
I can't do it.
Japanese World War II spy movie or something.
Oh, yeah, right.
I understand your frustration, Captain, but we will
That's
kill
right.
you.
Snorkel.
No, this is a
What is that?
touch-
Oh, a
touch-
touch TM touchdown.
it just has a really, really excruciatingly fine nib, and I'm thinking this might go. I know that you like them now, and I like them too, but this might go for the guy that is the one that wrote my name on a grain of rice with this pen.
Well, I had a really excruciatingly fine nib touchdown pen, and I sent it to Canada, and it became one of his very favoritist pens.
Okay.
I like the finer nibs now, but not as extreme as he does.
Yeah.
He will write with nibs that are like scalpel blades, and he loves it.
Yeah. Well, this one is pretty nice. I think I'm going to save that for this guy just because.
When they get ultra super fine, and I'm talking like 0.2 millimeter, the feedback gets to be a bit much for me.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I don't mind, feeling the texture of the paper and all that sort of a thing, but when it feels like you actually have to start really pushing the pen around to get it to work, even with a really light touch, because I got carpal tunnel in my hand, and yeah, it's another one of the many tragedies of my life. Became a fountain pen aficionado, and now my hands are all messed up. Why are you so cruel to me, God? Friedrich says 0.2 is perfect.
So what do you use a micrometer to figure this out, or what?
Calipers.
Calipers.
Yeah. I have some digital calipers, and I just write a few lines on some rhodia paper. I use a little magnifying glass and measure it.
I have one of those somewhere, but I don't know whether it's functional. Where would it be? If you were a caliper in my house, where would you be? I know I've had some.
I'm not sure that's a question I can answer, Pierre.
I know I've had some that do not work. Their batteries are dead or something is going wrong with them.
Well, what you need is an analog caliper with the dial on it.
Well, I have micrometers. I don't have.
Micrometers would kind of work, but the nice thing about the digital calipers, you just press a button and it switches between inches, millimeters, even
yards.
Fractions if you want.
Yeah.
At least mine does. Oh, Frederick says he's got a USB microscope on the way. I have a USB microscope also. It's pretty sweet. Oh, sorry, what?
I'm just trying to think of what I could use. Don't go away. You're still in charge. Let me
Okay.
just see if I know where the drawer where these things would be is, and I'll take a look.
Well, that's the thing. Like me in Canada and even Friedrich have talked about many times before, the ambiguity and inconsistency between nib sizes. What does extra fine mean? Or fine, or medium, or broad, or because it's all over the place. Like a Pelican extra fine, that's like 0.6 millimeters. That's a medium on some nibs. So we've gotten to the point now where those nib width designators don't really mean a whole lot. And then you always have to preface it by, oh, it's a Western fine, or a, blah, blah, blah. It's a Japanese fine, or it's, so people have an idea of what you're really even talking about. And I've always said, why don't we elect to just measure the line width in actual dimensions? This nib writes a 0.3 millimeter line on Rhodia paper. Obviously, the paper and the ink will affect that somewhat too. I understand, but that would get you in the ballpark of knowing what this nib is actually capable of, more than just, this is a fine nib. Well, okay, what does that mean? Yeah, Friedrich says 0.6 used to be a broad in vintage Schaefer. I have some vintage broads, and they're about 0.6, maybe 7. So yeah, broad used to not be that, huge of a line. That snorkel broad that I was playing with, I think that thing's probably closer to 8 or even a millimeter. It's pretty big. That thing has a huge old chunk of iridium on it. But yeah, I don't know. That's just one of the random sort of topics we discuss on our super secret pen chat club, which is what I've taken to calling it. Like Marilyn says, it doesn't even matter. I mean, yeah, it is a bit frustrating, or that you see descriptions on eBay or something and they don't even mention what the nib is. And I'm not even talking about someone selling a pen they found at an estate sale and know nothing about pens. Like actual pen dealers will sell fountain pens and won't even show you a photo of the nib. Like, well, how do I know it's not missing the iridium, or the tines don't look like that? Or yeah, Friedrich says we should have decoder rings made, little orphan Annie decoder rings telling us to drink more Ovaltine. I'm sure you all know what reference that is. What classic movie? My cat decided to come visit. What are you doing, cat? I have a Genhao 0.7 is a broad and 1.1 is small stub. I mean, that seems to be, sort of, I guess I can't say standard because of what I was just saying, but another thing that infuriates me is all of these crappy stub nibs, these steel stub nibs, the Jovos or all that crap. It's literally cat. She's trying to climb on the couch next to me and started slipping, goofball. This is the most ungraceful cat in the universe. She's such a sweetheart, but she has no grace at all. Oh, what was I saying here? Yeah, the steel stub nibs, like a 1.1 Yovo stub or whatever, they have no tipping. It's not a nib, if you ask me. It makes me so mad. An actual stub nib should have tipping, dagnabbit.
Come here. It's your food, kitty.
It reminds me of those crappy, those Schaefer calligraphy sets, the no nonsense ones. It's just a cheap little cartridge thing they sold at, grocery stores and whatever for years and years. And they're just like a, italic nibs with no tipping. I mean, to me, that's what these stub nibs are. Just lazy, no effort at all. And people spend hundreds of dollars on pens that have these crappy steel, no tipping stub nibs on them. And it just blows my mind.
I was unable to find what I was looking for.
Oh, well.
One of the things
I think I kept
do,
everyone entertained in the meantime.
What I do often is I'll tell people to draw an inch, width, length on a page, or a centimeter if you want to do that, and then draw as many vertical lines that are significantly apart from each other, and see how many lines you can get in that centimeter.
Right.
And in an inch, my most finest nib, I think, had 150.
Like individual discrete lines.
An individual discrete line
That's pretty damn fine.
with the space in between.
Right.
Now this one, I'll do it with this pen. So let me just see, where do I have a ruler here that will display an inch?
What do you got there? It looks like some sort of Triumph nib.
What?
The pen you're using.
Is
it that one? Okay.
This is the thin one. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, why can't I find what I'm looking for ever? Why is that?
Because you're looking for it. The moment you quit looking for it, it will be right there. That's how the universe works.
I have a million rulers in my house.
It's like a fundamental rule of physics or something. When you're looking for something, it's never where it's supposed to be.
I can't help you.
Friedrich has told you, Marilyn. Pierre and I don't play. Homie, don't play that. Yeah, head of a pen. Like those people that write entire passages from the Bible on a grain of rice or something.
My cat is crazy.
Mine's crazy too, but
okay, here is a ruler that is divided in a scale that takes an inch and divides it into 30 seconds. Well, I don't have time to do. I'm going to do a half an inch. And let's just see how many lines this can make. Now, as you'll see when I'm doing this.
Well, if we're going to do this ultra fine nib challenge here, I'll have to dig around and I'll have to compete in it.
Okay.
I can send some pictures in our
I just
chat room
want to show you what I'm doing here, which is to, find the thin side. Where it is the thinnest. I'm trying to, usually for me to do the thinnest lines, I have to draw fast.
Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm just going to go right over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Almost like you're cross hatching or something.
21, 22, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 31, 32, 34, 35. So this, can you see? God damn it.
So you got what, 35 and a half inch. So that'd be what, 70 lines in an inch?
That would be 70 lines in an inch.
At that density, right.
At that density.
Here's one of my rulers from my former occupation.
Okay, yeah. I've got those kicking around here too, but of course I can't find them when I'm looking for them.
Yeah, back when I used to do the printing, we always had a bunch of stuff in our pockets couple rulers similar to this. We used to have these big plastic things that were. I'll have to draw one. I probably have some in the garage. I'll draw a picture of one. It's a little plastic deal with a handle on it. That's basically all it was. It had a little spot for you to grip it. And then it came out to a sharp point. It looked similar to this. And that thing was,
Okay.
they called it a roll stripper. You would take the point of this and put it underneath the cardboard that the rolls of paper were wrapped in, and you just push it, and it would open up the cardboard wrapper, and then you'd have the roll of paper ready.
Yeah.
We used to carry those around. The little retractable razor knives, that was a common thing to carry around. Oh, and the big fat Sharpie marker, because you needed those all the time.
I hate my life. I just want to say, I hate my goddamn life. Let's make all the photons get in the goddamn way. Okay. So
take a deep breath, Pierre. It's okay. We're here for you, buddy.
Of course, you can't see a damn thing. Here. Just go right.
Oh, yeah, we can see that. There, it's pretty much focused right there.
That's not.
That's pretty good. You can still see, white spaces in between each line.
That's not an inch, but
right.
That's 5/8 of an inch. But what I want to do is I want to just see. Here's an inch. I'm gonna just have to let me count here. Don't. I'm gonna use this guy's pen that he sent me to try it out with. Let's just see how many I can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
I just got a message from Canada. He sent me a eBay link. I was like, yo, I'm on Pierre's stream. Come visit. I don't know if he's busy or something, but Pierre needs to hire a German to organize his house. Preferably a German with those washboard 6-pack abs or what?
I need a German with a fucking Panzer tank just to blow it out of its existence. I think. Okay, I'm just guessing here. What I'm trying to do is draw a long line for each 10. So based on this, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. This pen that he sent me can do 90 lines in an inch.
You said your best was 115?
Well, the one that I have is about 150.
150. That's a considerable improvement then.
Yeah, but that's not for sale.
So, right. I understand that's part of the private reserve, but
yeah. So I just want to see if this one can compete, because that one he had ground down.
Yeah.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I know we have some, Nibmeisters today that are capable of doing some pretty impressive work. I just wonder, though, if you compare them to the best of the best, the guys that worked at Waterman or Schaefer or any of those sorts of things, I really wonder, and I'm talking about when those pens and nibs were brand new off the factory floor versus what we could achieve now. I wonder how those two really compare.
Grinding a nib or shaping a nib after it's been created.
Yeah, it's not really ideal.
Is easier, I think, than starting from scratch.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
but it's also not totally ideal because you're changing the fundamental nib characteristics. The iridium was shaped in a particular way, and modifying it from that point forward, you're going away from what the original designer intended.
Yeah. Well, this seems to be similar to his other pen, so maybe I'll send that to him and see if he likes it.
I mean, once you get down to a certain point when you're dealing with, ultra fine nibs, it's really kind of splitting hairs at a certain point. The difference between a 0.2 and a 0.25 millimeter nib is almost kind of hard to quantify in some ways, because it has, when you're dealing with lines that fine and even finer, the paper and the ink and all that stuff starts playing an even more important role.
Yes. Those sort of things make sense if you're sending a man to the moon. You don't need to be that
Right.
accurate with a pen nib or with your writing. I don't think even a sophisticated calligrapher would.
Well, I
They
think
might
Canada
say
would
they care, but
disagree
I don't
because he
think.
has his own specifications for what constitutes the ideal nib in his mind. But like me, I'll write with anything, more or less. Whether it's a flex nib or a big ball on the end of a broad nib, I like to try it all. Marilyn says, I just saw a pumpkin patch. I've never been to a pumpkin patch.
How old are you, Marilyn?
Come to where I live. There's pumpkin patches everywhere. Cornfields, soybeans. We're a little rural around here, as they say. Oh, that's a Fifth Avenue.
It's the tiniest
It's a
Fifth
shorty
Avenue.
one.
It's the shortest. There were 3 sizes of Fifth Avenue.
And now I remembered my Fifth Avenue's broke.
It is broken in half.
I know.
I'm going to try to remember to send you a barrel. What color barrel was it?
Brown.
Brown.
Hopefully that's not a rare one.
Well, I'm not positive I have it, but I'll find out. Ooh, here's another fine nib.
Yeah, that looks pretty wispy too. And it's got some line variation. Yeah, Friedrich says baby shit brown. That's pretty much what it is.
Well, we use the fancy term here in Boston. We say caca dauphin. Caca dauphin. Baby shit brown.
I thought you were going to say burnt umber or something. Raw sienna.
Look at this, is also nice.
Crayon colors.
Are these all in my for sale bin? That's going to have to change.
Pierre, come on. You can't reabsorb everything now. You got to spread the love out a little bit.
I suppose I do.
They're your pens. I'm not telling you what to do with them, but
give them to me.
But give them to. I'm not telling you what to do with them, but I'm telling you what to do with them.
I'm telling you to give them to me and don't be slow.
That's right. Don't be slow. Send them yesterday. I found another one of my little rulers I used to carry around.
Okay.
And yes, I'm not just a fountain pen man. I have all kinds of other stuff. Food Ball and Pilot Varsity and Uniball Signo, Jetstream, Apple Pencil.
For the iPad?
Yeah.
Do you use that?
Occasionally.
Okay. Do you need to use that?
No. Why? Do you need it really bad?
No, but they're $100 worth of.
Yeah, they are $100.
And if you're not actually using them in an art program,
I don't use it regularly, so.
But a regular rubber tip stylus would do what that does. For
kind
just
of,
writing. Yeah, I'm just thinking if you don't actually, I mean, you should. If you don't have them, I think you might enjoy getting an art thing that will allow you to apply pressure, because you have an iPad Pro, obviously.
The actually, what I have is the newer normal iPad, and
Okay,
it
that
does
doesn't.
work
That's
with the pencil now.
it does,
Yes,
but it
the
doesn't.
newer, like 300 whatever dollar iPads they have now work with the older Apple Pencil, because now they have two pencils. They have the
Oh.
Apple Pencil 1 and then the Apple Pencil 2.
But does that actually, though, if you downloaded an app where the app will respond to pressure that you apply to the pencil, will it work on an app?
I will demonstrate thusly.
Okay.
All right, here's just the stupid see if I can figure out how to do this. Here we go. Here's just like the notes application.
Yeah.
You can do that,
Okay.
or if you switch it to the, what is it, the brush or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does have the pressure response and everything too, because you could do like really light ones.
Okay.
Oh, that was too much of an angle, and I'm touching the screen.
Okay. So the new iPads you can buy for $300 work. Okay.
Yeah, it does
Essentially
do the
do what an
pressure
iPad Pro
sensitivity.
does.
It does the same thing as the iPad Pro, or the older iPad Pros, anyways.
Okay. Because I was just telling Cedar to try out an iPad.
Yeah,
Pro.
if you want an iPad and the pencil, you don't have to buy the Pro no more.
Okay.
Right.
Now you tell me. No, it's I remember I know why this pen was in my sale department, because of this gash. Someone took off a name by taking their Dremel tool and just
They probably scraped it with something.
Huh?
They probably scraped it with something.
Yeah. So that's why it's not in my collection, but it has a beautiful nib. So I'll draw with it for a while. And
here's one of my favorite pencils. U.S. government.
okay.
I'm going to federal jail.
I have a number of those. I'll join you. My favorite one is U.S. government, but U.S. government is in quotes. Like,
oh,
okay.
Yeah, quotes.
Yes.
The artist formerly known as U.S. government.
Yes.
Yeah, Marilyn says the Mini you can use the pencils with now too.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't know. They come out with this new Apple stuff all the time, and even though I use a bunch of Apple stuff, I really don't pay that much attention to it. Because despite having a bunch of Apple stuff, I'm not at all really an Apple fan. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
I begrudgingly use Apple stuff. I'll put it that way.
Do you unbegrudgingly use the other people?
Use the other people.
Well, the other products, the other non-Apple products.
I used to use like Android phones and stuff for a long time, and I did kind of like those, but
without the begrudging.
I slowly got absorbed into the Apple ecosystem, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll buy an Apple thing this time, and now I'm just kind of stuck there. You know what I mean? Like everything works together, and it would be a pain in the butt if I was to switch something now. So
I see.
I just kind of gave up.
Well,
someone did 2 years ago for selling a large lot of U.S. government pencils on eBay. They actually got in trouble. Oh man, what is that? A burgundy touchdown?
It's a burgundy touchdown.
That's pretty. Does it have the weird faded white dot on the cap? like some of those?
It's
It's a little yellow,
beige-ish,
but yeah.
but it's raised up. It's not.
Oh, it's
It's
one of the
not.
ones that's like a bump. Yeah.
Yeah. Is this something you want?
You can throw it in my pile. I will certainly strongly consider it. If you even have some vac filling Schaefers, even if they don't work, I would consider those for the right
Okay.
price.
I don't have very many.
Yeah.
I ended up selling a bunch to almost all the time I had them. I would sell them to Nathan Tardif.
Yeah.
Uh,
Or even some desk pens that have Triumph nibs on them.
I do have some of those.
I need a few for purposes.
Purposes that you can.
I've been on a kick for Schaefer desk pens, particularly even the vac ones.
Okay.
I've
What about
had
the
3 or 4 of them repaired here recently. So
What about the striped ones?
the striped ones are what I definitely want. I only got the black ones because they were super cheap. I've been paying like $20 for a desk pen with a gold Triumph nib. That's a pretty awesome price. Even if I just take the nib off and put it on another pen, you know. Oh, Frederick says they went to prison for selling those U.S. government pencils. Mary Ellen says that's how they get you. Frederick says because they did not have a receipt proving they purchased from government disposal. That's true. You can buy government surplus stuff at those auctions. I've actually done that before. And I have a funny story about that as well. Oh, hey, Bartholomew's up in the chat room. What are you doing with porpoises? They don't have opposable digits. That's right. Porpoises do not have opposable thumbs. Mole station. Oh, that's not the word I just said. Okay. Continuing on. Bartholomew says they can't use pens. Okay, government auctions. My grandmother used to work on base as a civilian in the office. She was like a technical documents writer, is what they considered her job title. But basically, her job mainly consisted of taking old forms of documents and transferring them into modern digital forms. And this was back in like the 80s and 90s. So we're talking, you know, Windows 3.1 at the most. So she would get stuff that was on blueprints or microfiche or hard copy and convert it in any number of ways. But anyways, she always used to take me to these government auctions they held on the base. And one time I put a bid in on a wooden pallet of surplus government computers. They were just like basic desktop computers or whatever. And I think I bid like $150 or something, and it was like 4 or 5 computers. And they were only a few years old, so they were still worth a decent amount of money. They were not worth $150. And I won the auction. And I was supposed to go back and pick them up like a few days later or something, and we get a phone call. And basically, it was a phone call saying that my bid was like retroactively canceled. They were going to be refunding my money and that I wasn't allowed to have the computers. Well, apparently my grandma found out later that those computers, oh, those awesome desk pens. I'll finish my story real quick. Those computers, they had never erased the sensitive government data that was still on them. And apparently there was something really important still on those computers, and I wasn't allowed to have them. But it would have been funny for me to get those computers home and plug them in, and they had, you know, national state secrets or something still on them. Are those I see like a brown stripe one. You've got one of the sockets there.
There's 3 brown striped ones.
Oh, heck yeah. You might have to make me a deal on all 3 of them.
I might, huh?
Yeah.
Is that what I might have to do?
Oh, I'm asking you nicely. I wasn't. They are duplicates now. They meet your duplicate criteria. Even if you keep one of them, you could sell me 2.
Some of these nibs are quite lovely.
Yeah, that's pretty.
They're fine, but a little, and they're all Triumph nib.
Right.
This one seems fatter than the other one.
It might be a fat touchdown.
Well, it's a piston fill.
Oh, it is. Is the nib the shorter kind or the longer kind?
Short.
Yeah, it's got the stumpy 79 nib. I didn't know they made them in different diameters, though. Because I only have like 3 vacuum fill desk pens.
Well, you could have 5 more.
I would certainly be interested.
Okay. Well, I'll take a look and see.
Frederick says he needs a socket for a touchdown. A metal one with the screw-in piece. I may have an extra socket for you, Friedrich, if you're talking about like a well, no, the one that I have for a touchdown is black. It's not a metal one. And it's a fat touchdown desk pen socket.
Come with me, people. Just come with me.
Oh, yay, field trip time. Oh, we're going to the cabinets of doom. Yeah, you might be able to find what Frederick needs in there.
Low battery, it says. Fuck.
Uh-oh. Low battery.
Skyline parts. Yes,
Here, if I ever came over to your house, I would go crazy because I would sit there and start trying to build pins out of all those drawers of parts.
Yeah.
I would lose my mind.
Yeah. And
you'd probably have to have a doctor on standby ready to administer some sort of tranquilizer drug so I don't die, to bring me back down to reality. Oh my gosh. Don't show me any more stuff in those drawers because I'll start begging you to put more stuff in my pile. I think I have enough for right now.
how difficult, how impossible would it be for you to visit me in Boston?
Quite difficult.
Okay.
I won't go so far as to say impossible, but it would be quite difficult.
If you were to travel, how far can you travel in a day
Right now,
without losing your
I'm
mind?
limited to about an hour and a half in a car before I really start getting into bad shape. like even that really starts doing me in.
Okay.
And then I have the added problem of like staying in hotels. I can't really sleep in a normal bed because this chair you see me sitting in, this is my bed, honestly.
Yeah.
Because if I sleep flat on my back, it totally wrecks me for the next day or two. Just because of all the stuff that's wrong with my back. And it's not even just my actual back hurting is not really even factored into this. The main problem I have is the nerves that go to my legs are all messed up.
I see.
And I have real profound weakness in my left leg. I walk with the cane and everything.
Okay.
Get a suite so it has recliners and sofa. I've thought about that, but my previous experience with hotels and the, recliners and stuff that they have in them, their recliners are usually pretty shitty. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I wouldn't hold my breath in them having a super comfy chair in the room. But yeah, like I said, I don't know if it would be impossible, but it would be quite an undertaking.
Well, I mean, even and then when you get here, you'd just be fucked.
Yeah, exactly.
From start to finish, because you can't even. Two-legged people that don't have a cane still have to walk sideways in my house.
Right.
Whereas,
actually, I don't think that would be so bad for me. Stairs in particular would fuck me up. I know that. Stairs are my mortal enemy at this point.
Yeah. Well,
because that's the thing. Like with stairs, my right leg still works okay. It's 70% of what it probably should be. My left leg, though, is like 30% of what it should be. So I take one step up and I'm good, and then I go to my left leg and I'm like, to the next step. It's not fun.
It seems like Boston isn't in the cards.
It's just a shame because it's not like there isn't tons and tons of things that I wish I could do and I would be doing under any other circumstances,
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the depressing, tragic thing about all of this is that I'm the kind of person, before I got injured, I was not at home. Unless I was eating some food or sleeping or working or something, I was never home. I was always out doing something, whether it was walking around in a park, hanging out with friends, going on a trip somewhere. I was always going out and doing something. Actually, me and Friedrich had a similar conversation to this, the other night. I went from living that kind of normal lifestyle to basically being maybe not bedridden, but pretty much a permanent homebody, like practically overnight. And that's, it's a pretty tough thing to adapt to. And then like after I had my back surgery and all that, which was supposed to, make it to where I wouldn't become paralyzed from the waist down. The guy that did my surgery basically told me in no uncertain terms, like, you will be in a wheelchair at some point in the future because all the things that are wrong with me are degenerative in nature and will continue to get worse as time goes on. And when you're a 28-year-old guy, having someone tell you that, it's kind of a punch in the gut, And it's like now I'm 39 going on 40 and already, I mentally tally up the things that I can do versus all of the things that I can't do now. It's not the sort of thing I like to dwell on necessarily. Basically my way to cope with it is to not necessarily ignore it, but definitely try to focus on making do with what I got, I guess you could say. if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do a little bit of stuff that I can do, and I try to enjoy that because I know that even that's, you know, potentially ephemeral, fleeting, you know, even this might not last forever. So, well, I didn't mean to go on a big rant about me and my crippledness, but I mean, I don't mind sharing that all with y'all because, you know, why not?
Why not? Why not indeed? I'd still give you 120 hours of gay adoration there, Mitch.
120 days, what?
120 hours of gay adoration.
Gay admiration. Well, that would certainly be the highlight of my life at this point.
Okay,
Any admiration is better than zero admiration.
yes. I need to get some water. This guy that sent me these pens is going to be on in a minute, and he'll
Okay.
be watching and maybe typing as I try to explain to him what I might have for him.
Okay.
So let me just get more power cables so I don't die mid-stroke here.
Yeah, don't let the computer go dead there. Well, there's a couple times where you've got disconnected or something while I was on, and it like gave me control of your stream, basically. Every time I read Friedrich/Frederick's name, I never know which way you're supposed to pronounce it. I mean, it could be Frederick. That would be the more, you know, Americanized version of it. Friedrich is probably closer to what it's supposed to be, but what happened to Marilyn? Did Marilyn take off? Oh, Marilyn said gotta go earlier and I didn't see it. Okay. Marilyn was riding the bus and all sorts of stuff, so. Oh,
Riding that bus.
Friedrich. Okay. Friedrich. I had a pronunciation guide from the man himself. So Friedrich it is.
Freddie.
Freddie, yeah. I guess that works too, but I love the way your sheets of paper look after you do your little pen testing scribbles on them.
Thank you.
See, I have the similar sort of thing. I'll show you a couple examples here. Like this.
Yeah, I recognize that.
Like this, that. But mine never look anywhere near as cool as yours do. Because I always start scribbling inane babble and
I
write my name a lot, or I smear some ink.
If I make a word, it's by accident.
Yeah.
And never once will my pen write anything about a goddamn fox, quick or slow.
You know what? I did that for a while. I don't know why. It was just a subconscious thing.
Yeah.
And it started like actively irritating me to the point now where I start writing like sarcastic mixed up variations of it or other things, like on a typewriter.
Oh.
The quick brown fox thing on a typewriter does serve kind of a purpose because it uses every letter in the alphabet, and if there's a mechanical problem with the typewriter, you'll see it.
Yeah.
With a pen, though, you know,
you don't need to
it's
do
not
that.
really true. You could write anything, really. You know, any sentence would be perfectly suitable. Yeah, leaping lizards. There's wizards one. There's a There's all kinds of those sentences you can use. Sphinx of black quartz, judge my vow. Pack my box with 5 liquor jugs.
5 dozen. 5
5
dozen.
dozen liquor jugs. Yeah, there's a bunch of those you can do on typewriters, but for pens, I don't know if that's really, it just seems like one of those things everybody's sort of adopted it for some reason and never really questioned it. So yeah, I'm perfectly content with everyone abandoning Quick Brown Fox with fountain pens from here on out. Maybe I'll start a petition.
Maybe we can get Parker to come up with something with, rather than the brown fox jumping over, it could be SBRE Brown is the
Oh, Will Hodge is here.
yes, I saw that.
Leaping lizards. I test the pen with Egypt and minimum. I've seen a lot of people, I don't know what you'd even call it. It seems to be a bit of a fad now, people writing minimum with fountain pens.
Well, minimum, that was a way of learning, first of all, how to distinguish between this bump and this bump trough trough,
Right.
and knowing which bump to dot the I. So it's a calligraphic, it's sort of like a tongue twister. So you
It's
learn
basically an exercise, right?
Yeah, you'll learn tongue twisters to help you speak elocutionally, and actors do them so they can not get all fucked up with their lines.
So the minimum thing definitely goes back a lot farther than like a recent fad right now.
Yeah, minimum
Okay.
goes back far. So blue steel base.
Blue steel bass. Type
Is
hello.
it bass or base? I think it's base, I would think.
I'm voting bass, like the
You're
fish.
voting? Is it
That's
the
my vote.
instrument or the fish?
It could
What
be
is
a
it?
doom 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 doom, it could be a bass too, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think of a steel bass or a steel guitar, steel drum, rather than, I don't know, can you hear?
Isn't
I'll
there a
ask him.
bass fish called like a steel head or something?
There might be.
I don't know. You would think I'd know this since my family has a commercial fishery, but
Clef.
Okay.
Oh, bass clef. Okay. See, he's stumped us all. Okay, so
Friedrich voted fish too, so I guess we were both wrong.
So, Affectional, I want you to just hold quiet for a
Okay.
second while I ask a
I will
couple
shut
of
my trap.
questions. Blue steel. What would you like me to call you? By your name or Blue Steel? I'm going to move this down a little bit closer so I can read what is being said. And I'm going to get a new piece of paper. Blue is fine. Okay, Blue. So, Blue, I'll just give a recap. Blue, I sent Blue 8 pens, I think, and to his specifications, I thought. And he and a friend ended up buying a few, and the other ones came back to me yesterday or the day before. And one of the pens that he wants is a big, wet noodly, fine nib to broad, flexible Frankenpen pen. And I provided him with one which I sent off a little bit too soon. I had just purchased it, and it had not yet been absorbed. So he got it. And subsequent to him getting it, he made some alterations to the feed and sort of played around with it. but it skips, and it skips in a bad way. So we're going to try to replace this for you. He also sent me this pen that writes very thinly. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Blue. You want a pen similar to this as well with a fine nib? Italians are immune to errors.
Me and Friedrich are having a little side conversation here.
Okay. Yes, please. Okay, this is what I found for you, Blue. This is among the things that I am finding for you. This is a Schaefer Touchdown Pen, which Mitch, who's right here, Mitch, say hi to Blue.
Hello, Blue.
He loves these pens, and he is learning to like fine nibs. But his buddy Canada, we'll call him Canada because that's where he lives, likes these thin pens as well. So they're sort of and I love these pens too. So this one is very similar to the one that you sent me to try out. Well, I would like you not to have to grind it. I'd love you to be able to use the pen as is. And this one is quite lovely, except it's thin. It's a narrow pen compared to this one, and it weighs about half as much. This is very heavy.
But in terms of, not like a nail, Triumph nibs are pretty high on the nail scale.
They are
typically
pretty naily, but this one does have, a slight flexibility. Oh, the girth wasn't for reference. Okay.
Yeah, that nib definitely has a little more give than most of them do.
He wants fine but soft. No, I don't know if he wants fine and soft. The length is what, see, this is why it's important to, well, anyway, what you're going to get from me is a group of pens again. You will, be able to try them out, and if you don't like them, you send them back and I'll try again. But I just saw this one and I thought this might make you happy. Now, your Frankenpen pen, I will try to figure out a different nib for this. Because this one is not working at all the way it's supposed to. And
is it because the nib's being curved too much, or is the feed problem?
The nib had been damaged, and it was a pen that I was working on fixing and trying to get going. And I thought it might have been fixed enough for sort of an introduction to, because a lot of people find Frankenpens not convenient because you sort of have to dip them and you have to use them at home, and you, because the nib is, there's a feed that's too small for the pen, and any number of reasons it may not. I just was talking about I sent you this dip pen nib before I maybe had time to make it perfect. And
Blue is asking you to repeat what you just said, but I don't know at what point.
Yeah.
I don't think you missed anything too incredibly important.
What happened to my burnisher?
I don't know. Maybe it's off burnishing elsewhere. Blue says it works without dipping with the feed mod.
Okay. I was afraid of that. No, I wasn't afraid of that. That's what I kind of remembered. But what was the problem with this pen? Was it just it wasn't humming? It didn't work for you to the degree that you wanted it to? This is not the right burnisher. I need my burnisher.
Blue says he caught up now. He says one tine is twisted on the nib.
Yes, it is. One time is. So that's what I'm trying to fix.
Yeah.
As you watch.
But that's what he's doing now is he's got the nib block out and he's going to re-dimension the nib and try to take the crease out, basically.
If I can find my burnisher.
See, these are all the sorts of tools that I wish I had, but...
Well, a burnisher is
a burnisher is just like a standard jewelry, silversmithing type stuff.
Those are that you can find.
The nib blocks are the thing that's hard to get.
Well, the nib block you might be able to have fashioned for you, maybe, or find some.
I could have someone make one for me, yes.
Yeah. You don't need the block. It's the shape of the little trough thing is what you need.
That's kind of the critical thing because it's like that tapered channel for doing, various nib sizes. And I guess you can buy vintage pens. David Nishimura has like a plastic nib block that he has. I don't know if that, would be usable enough.
I can't imagine a plastic nib block would work at all. I would think that, you couldn't pound, making I don't know. I would think you could even, I don't know. Never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I don't know either. And it's like repairing nibs like this. I understand how it's done, technically, but I've never done it myself. I mean, I've done metalworking and stuff in my past. I know how metals move around and are worked and welded and so on and so forth, but actual practical experience is zero for me on that.
Well, let me try to explain what I see as a problem with this nib. And I don't know whether burnishing would ever make it any better. And it seems almost as if the nib, if make it go, Pierre. Here's the nib. Here's the picture of the nib. Here's the slit. From the slit to here, this amount of gold follows a certain rule of pressure equals the split of the tines. And then it seems that this area up here has an entirely different set of rules. So
it could be because the gold has work hardened also.
Yeah. So when you press down, sometimes the nib does this. Sometimes it splays out sort of like that. So this is sort of a curved splaying. But this one seems to go straight and then splay. sort of does this. So it seems like this area is suddenly a lot weaker, than the other. And there are some nibs that are like that, and that you can learn how they work and you learn what to do. But because this nib, I think, also when I bought it, it was bent a little bit, and I tried to fix it, and I just don't think I fixed it correctly.
Yeah, because
And
fixing a problem like that might require retempering the nib or something extreme.
yeah, I just have a feeling that in some cases, a nib like that has that kind of damage, it
Yeah,
may not.
it will
ever
just
get
never
fixed.
be as good as it would be had it not been damaged in the first place.
But I will find something for you, Blue, regardless of this.
Yeah, Blue said the tines catch together.
Yeah,
So when
there's
you're
this.
talking like when you let off, it'll do that on you.
There's a little bit of nastiness that happens. So let me do this. I'm going to just put my phone over here. I'm just going to see if I can take everything off my table so I can see if my burnisher is hiding somewhere up here, because it's driving me mental that I cannot find it.
Well, I am getting quite hungry and I need to prepare some food, so I may have to depart here in a moment.
Okay. Let me put this here so I don't spill it.
Good, Pierre. You always cap your ink.
You know me better than that. I don't do that at all.
I was praising you because you did the right thing.
I did the right thing. I know I did the right thing just then, but I don't do the right thing almost all the rest of my life.
Blue says, thank you. If possible, can it be an eyedropper holder for the nib so I can do the mod again?
Of course. Okay. The burnisher is not in that half of the room. Let's go to the other half. The other half of my table. I don't see it. I don't see it.
I'm not even going to ask what the leather glove is for.
I will show you what it's for.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Gotcha. All right. Right.
It's for unscrewing without making marks. I learned that from the CSI programs. You wear gloves so there's no fingerprint.
Crime scene to prevent your fingerprints being found. Yes. They'll never know it was me who repaired this pen. Blue says if it doesn't fit, you must acquit. Oh yeah. As Pierre speeds off in his white Bronco. I'll show a few pens here before I depart.
Okay,
you
entertain the troops. I need to.
Okay, I'll entertain everyone here. But here's a pen that I got fairly recently. It's a Golden Pearl Vacuumatic, about 1945. Super
Found
pretty
it.
pen. Hey, we found the burnisher. But I just recently got this super cool 1.1 millimeter stub nib and stuck it on this pen. And this thing writes like a beast. This is such a fun pen to write with. But unfortunately, it's not a factory stub nib. It's one of these ones that's been retipped. But it was done very, very well. I was writing with this one earlier. Friedrich saw this one. One of these pastel gray snorkels, but it's got this big honking broad nib on it. Yeah, the tiger eye celluloid pattern. I don't know what it is, but these are so pretty to look at.
They are lovely to look at.
You cannot beat vintage celluloid. I've got my 1929 standard balance inked up here. This thing's got one of those super duper thick gold, the early lifetime nibs. It's just a normal fine. But if you're talking about a nib that's a nail, this is about as nail as it gets. It does not move at all. Not that you would want to put a lot of pressure on this anyways.
You know,
What else do I got here? I got my Mont Blanc 146. It's one of these 1980s ones. Monotone nib. It's got the gray ink window, which you could see, but it's got black ink in it. There's two more here. Pilot Custom 823, which is one of the few modern pens I own.
Blue, can I ask a question? You're in Asheville, right?
And then we have this thing, the most expensive fountain pen I own. The Visconti Crystal Dream. It's got this little ink window so you can see the ink in there. And it's just like a normal fine. This is one of the 18 karat gold ones because they'd already gotten rid of the palladium nibs when I got this. But having tried both the palladium and the gold versions of this pen, I can't see a lot of difference.
Coast.
Oh, Blue was asking me about Mont Blanc. Mont Blanc nibs are A+ in my opinion. I can't really speak on the modern ones that you can buy today, but particularly these, they have a little bit of softness. This is a medium, which depending on where you're coming from may write a little bit more like a broad, and it's very, very velvety. For some people, it may even be too smooth, but I do enjoy this nib. But it definitely has a very silky smooth. The only way I can describe it is Mont Blanc nibs have kind of a unique characteristic to them, and I can't really put it in the words. But when you write with a Mont Blanc, you know it's a Mont Blanc. Just like when I write with a Schaefer, I can kind of tell it's a Schaefer. They have their own secret sauce or something. It's the only way I can put it. How's the nib coming, Pierre? Will the patient live, or
did you see my where is my
Oh, Blue said coast, I guess in reference to where he lives. So I'm assuming East Coast.
I asked if he was in Asheville, North Carolina. You're on the coast. Yeah. Just in case the patient dies, I've got the cement
the graveyard coffin
caskets here.
We can play taps for it too as we lay it to rest.
Okay, I'm going to try it out. See if this did any good. Why is my ink capped? Effects Technol.
Because you did the right thing by putting the cap back on it, so you didn't knock it across the room. In your flurry of finding the burnisher. Oh, the Mont Blanc on, yeah, I use Rhodia. It works on sheet paper. Mont Blancs tend to have they're a little bit on the wetter side for ink flow, which that may or may not appeal to you. Clairefontaine. Yeah, I mean, it works fine on everything.
Clairefontaine sounds like it's supposed to be makeup.
Yeah.
I'm wearing my
she's born with it.
Clairefontaine
Maybe it's
Chartreuse number 2.
Clairefontaine.
I love my Clairefontaine Chartreuse. I wear it with my Fredericks of Hollywood. Crotchless panties.
Well, it's funny because I mean, I have nice paper, but the paper I write on the most is literally cheapo dollar store junk. But I have painstakingly selected a few versions that actually handle fountain pens quite well. Surprisingly well, actually. And it's like I can buy 10 of these for the price of one halfway decent notebook. So the fact that there's notebooks now that cost $50 or more a piece is just insane to me. Even good paper should not cost that much. Or maybe I'm just a cheapskate and I spend all my money on pens and I have none left over for paper. That's entirely possible too. So
I think I've made headway with this nib. It worked better in the other feed. I think I made headway blue, but I'm going to set this aside and try to find a holder for it. I think it's working better.
Who says my fine nibs hate that stuff? They either catch on the paper or they suck up too much ink with the lack of coating. Yeah, some of these cheap discount papers are quite crudely manufactured, and fountain pen ink will feather and bleed through them really bad no matter what you do. But like I said, a few of these particular types of these notepads I found are actually quite decent. I'll give you a tip. If you want to look for cheap paper that may work well with fountain pens, look for paper that's made in India or Indonesia. I don't know why, but the notepads I found that work with fountain pens well, they almost always say the paper was made in India or Indonesia. So that's just a little tip for y'all. But yeah, some of the, like a really super ultra fine nib, you can really feel this paper because it's got a lot of texture to it. So this stuff is not anywhere near as smooth as Rhodia. It's very nice to write on with, a medium nib or something, but
how far blue are you away from Asheville? I think I asked him this once upon a time, and it might be like 4 hours away or something.
Oh, I meant to tell you, Pierre, I may have a line on a oversized balance with a flex nib.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Because I like the oversized balances. So blue says the other side.
More than
4, I guess 4 hours away.
Yeah. Well, a visit to see Rob Morrison would be fun for you, I think. Rob and I have similar taste and knowledge, and he might be able to sell you a pen or two. But the thing with Rob is he loves his pens in perfect condition. So the cost of the pens he's selling are usually pretty high.
Commensurate with the perfect condition.
The perfect condition of everything. Here's a beautiful Waterman that is in my collection. I just needed a sack, so
Is that sterling?
Sterling, yep. And
Well, here's my one and only Rob pen that I got from Rob.
Okay.
Yeah, wideband Triumph. And I bought it because it had a broad nib on it, but this little piece back here was broken. The little threads here on the packing unit.
Uh-huh.
And my pen repair guy expertly crafted a brand new packing unit for this pen on his lathe.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so he did an awesome job. Yeah, Blue says nib is most important. Well, someone like Pure is probably your go-to place.
Yeah.
I like nice pens like everyone else, but at the end of the day, the nib is what matters to me.
Yeah.
If I can get a, beat up pen that doesn't look so nice, excuse me, but it's got an awesome nib on it, I would rather write with that than a really super nice looking pen with a crappy nib,
Or a boring nib.
Or a boring nib.
Crappy.
Yeah.
There are perfectly good nibs that are boring.
Yeah.
This nib is too long for this barrel. The tines hit the top of the cap.
Oh, yeah, that's not good.
So I have to find a little stub number 2, even though I love the long, slender nib for this long, slender pen. It makes sense that it would have one, but I'm not going to put a pen that's going to break.
Yeah, and I wouldn't try to jam the feed nib in there super far down to make clearance either, because you don't want to crack the section.
I'm soaking. Maybe I can find a section that's a little bit a feed rather that's a little bit less.
That's true too. If you swap some feeds around, you might find one with a little smaller dimension,
a little more space around it.
Right, to set it a little deeper. Well then, y'all, I think I'm going to jump off.
You're going to go
make some food. Yep.
Well, it was good seeing you
for a little while,
and I'm glad you visited with us. I'm trying to find a Waterman that I can put this in.
Well, it was good to talk to Blue as well.
Yeah, it was nice seeing Russell briefly.
Yeah, I saw Russell briefly. Even talked to Marilyn and saw Will a couple times.
The desk pens
had the whole crew in here at various points.
The thing with desk pens, Blue, are it depends on the era, and
like here's the holder for a Schaefer desk pen, so it goes into about here.
Yeah.
But I mean, desk pens like this that don't have standard open nibs, the nib clearance is pretty well one thing. There is some variation in Triumph nib links, but
it's just
I would say desk pens in general have a whole lot more clearance in them than the caps for the same pens. I would imagine it's fairly similar.
The thing that I find with desk pens is they often will dry out because of non-use.
Yeah.
And when they dry out, they're not as airtight as a regular fountain pen.
Well, part of that reason is because inside of here, they don't really have the same type of inner cap that a lot of fountain pens have, usually.
Yeah.
But like this style pen, the inside of this is basically exactly the same as the cap for the same kind of pen if it wasn't a desk pen.
And that has that screws in, right?
Yeah, this is one that threads in. So like when you're using it, you can just pop it in there. But when you're done for the day, you screw it and it, it's in there now. Just like if this was a cap on a normal pen. But even still, I mean, if you leave this pen sit here for a week and you go to write with it, it's probably going to be dry. It won't take much to get it going, but yeah, they do dry out a bit. You can leave them usually for, 2-3 days and they'll be okay. The ink might be a little darker and more saturated when you start going again.
But often when I make a Frankenpen, the what am I saying? The nib is usually longer than the nib that would have been on the pen originally.
Yeah, than what the original nib would have been.
So I have to be very careful that the nib is not going to hit the inner cap, which is why I like using slip caps a lot. I drop fill slip caps
because they have a lot more clearance.
There's usually more clearance and there isn't an inner cap to get in the way, and so I'm not going to run into the problem of accidentally cramming it in too far. So what I did, I put this nib in this pen, and this nib I was able to shove it in a little further. It's really a prickly fine nib. Very, very fine, but really scratchy. And when do you think FX to null I would suggest using a pen like this?
I don't know.
If I was taking if I was in a classroom and I was writing a test, answers to a test, and I had everyone around me also writing an answer, doing their test, I would use a really scratchy, nasty pen and write, and everyone would go crazy with the sound, and they'd lose their train of thought. How about that?
You'd put them off their game.
Put them off their game.
Yeah. Kind of like yelling at a baseball player about the hit, hey, batter, batter.
Yeah. Or sucking on a lemon when someone's trying to play the clarinet or something.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about nib clearance issues, and I had a similar problem when I made this thing. I had this really awesome Skyline Flex nib.
Yeah.
And it's a really super nice nib. It's not super duper flexy, but I mean, it's definitely a flex nib.
Yeah.
And the pen that it was on was totally trashed. The plastic was shrunk, cracked. It had major problems. But someone gave me this body of a red, I don't know what is this called, burgundy,
Dubonnet red.
Dubonnet, whatever it is. And put the nib and feet in there, and it looked great until I went to thread the cap on.
Oh, no.
And no matter what I did, I did not have enough clearance to screw the cap on fully.
Well, I will tell you, unscrew the top of the cap.
Well, what I ended up doing was disassembling the cap and actually clearancing out the inside of the derby in here.
Well, unscrew that cap so I can see it, because the caps, those little derbies had two different lengths of inner capdom to them.
Oh, okay.
One was for the shorter pen and one is for the longer pen. And you probably have the short one in the longer cap.
Right.
And they're interchangeable, so you wouldn't know. So, I don't know. That looks like it might be the right size, but it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
I always have to look at them side by side.
Yeah, you have to look at them side by side to really tell. But yeah, anyways, I got in there and actually clearanced it out because there's plenty of material in here. And it's just celluloid, so it, pretty easy to work on.
See this?
But in the end, I made the pen work anyways.
This is a short one.
That's a short one. does it matter that yours has the threads only here?
No,
and stops?
they're all different kinds.
Okay, okay.
And actually, they made some of these that were screw into the top part, where this part would come out from the top.
Right.
So it's
That's the thing. For all I know, this pen could be a total conglomerate of parts.
it probably
basically is now.
and it's not out of
Yeah.
anyone's intention that they did that to you. It's just the fact that you can't help it.
Well, I mean,
when people are
these
putting
parts
pens
came
together
out of someone's part stash, so it
Yeah.
almost certainly is a mix match of barrel and cap and right.
See, here's a long one, I think.
Putting these
Here-
damn things back together is always a pain in the ass.
It's a pain in the ass. Yeah.
Well, I'm
So
glad I'm
you-
not the only one.
So you can see that, well, you can't see that there's a difference because my house is too dark. The one photon that goes from one end of the house to the other.
Yeah, you have to chase the photon around the house.
Well, you can't even see now when I'm trying to show you, but there is a difference by enough to cause the trauma that you're experiencing. But what you did is perfectly fine. And
Well, that nib's going to live in that pen forever. So
the pen that I just showed you, the Waterman,
Yeah.
the cap really doesn't want to screw down very far. It makes like a quarter of a turn of threads, which is not at all
yeah,
Feels-
that's not really ideal.
feels good. So what I would do with this one, I would find it, and I have the parts where I can sacrifice a section. I might file a little tiny bit of that section down from the top. You know what I'm saying?
Right, to bring the whole thing down farther.
Just to allow the inner cap to make the cap to screw an extra.
Yeah, if that sort of thing doesn't bother you. I mean, you'll lose a little bit of that lip on the very end, but
Yeah. And I do that often with a pen.
I mean, if you're building fountain pens out of mismatched parts anyways, so
yeah,
you know, you don't want to modify stuff if it's a complete original pen and yada yada yada, but it's better to have a pen made out of parts and have it be a pen again than just a bunch of parts in a drawer,
yes,
in my opinion.
yes. Now this should be a small. Yeah, this is short, I think. Blue, are you still with us?
Well, he gave us the crying smiley face emoji there a minute ago, so
Well, you talked about an O-ring, and I'm not really sure where that's.
oh, we were talking about the
desk
you
pen.
know, desk pins drying out and stuff, and he was saying, you know, you could put an O-ring in there and that would seal it better.
Well, it might.
There's some pins that advertise, you know, you can cap them and leave them for a year and they won't dry out. And to me, though, I wouldn't leave a fountain pen inked up for more than a month at the absolute maximum if I wasn't using it. If I don't use a pen for a week or two, I'll just waste the ink and dump it and clean it out, put it away. Because there's nothing good to come out of leaving ink in a pen for a lot longer than it needs to be in there.
On second thought, Mitch, never come to my house.
Yeah, because I'll be cleaning all your pens and chiseling the ink boulders out of the feeds and
chiseling the milk out of the carton to go in.
yeah,
your
chiseling the milk out of the carton.
Because that's also solidified.
I'll say, Pierre, what kind of terrible science experiments are you doing in here?
Look at
I
me.
think I mentioned something about having to leave, and I'm still here. What am I doing with my life?
Well, what are you doing? What were you going to be
don't
leaving
know.
for? You were
I
gonna
don't
eat?
have an excuse. No excuses to be had. All right, I think I'm actually going to leave for real this time. I am
Okay.
pretty hungry, so.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Well,
And
I
I'm glad
enjoyed spending
you
time
helped.
with y'all.
You did your job of letting me know what people are typing, so I don't have to refocus my eyes.
I was going to say, I kind of feel like a little bit of an MC or something when I come on here.
Yeah, you're like the people on the side of the governor speaking to the deaf.
The sign language.
The
You're right.
American Sign Language. You're doing the
ASL.
same for me, except
Translation duties. Alrighty then, everybody. I will see you again at some point soon, I'm sure. In the meantime, take it easy. Bye-bye.
Okey-doke. Bye. Okay, so Blue, it's just you and me and 3 other people in the room. While you're here and I'm here and you're watching me play with pens, what would you like to ask me? Or what can I show you? They're all so goddamn different, these nibs. They just are so different. This one that I just had in my hand, this one right here. Do I want to put this desk style pen with Victorian nib long tapered end? Okay, I will do my best to try to find something. It's just finding a socket to go along with it. That might be the hard part. I'm trying to think. I'm using right now a Wall Eversharp desk pen. I have a Wall Eversharp that has a Victorian era dip nib in it. But I don't know whether it, because I don't fill those, I never really know whether they would dry out. I'll show you the one that I use for myself. This is a Wall Eversharp holder from the 20s. So when the cap is in, when the pen is down as far as it goes, the nib goes almost to that gold line. And there's a bunch of ink on the bottom of this thing. So this kind of pen would work. That's an option. Now, do I have one of these that I can sell you? I'm using the one that I'm showing you right now. Well, the eyedropper, again, I don't think I don't believe there were. I think desk sets were kind of a late addition to the fountain pen realm. A Skyline era desk pen. Again, it has a lever on it. Here's a later Skyline era socket, which goes down to there. This probably could hold a nice Victorian dip nib, this one. And it seems airtight. When it makes contact, it seems airtight. So this thing might work. Let's just try it out. I'm not going to try it with your nib because your nib is too small. That sounds almost dirty. I'm sure your nib is perfectly sized. Okay, this is the nib I just got today in the mail from an eBay purchase. And it's too small to fit in there. So I'm going to put this back where it came from. So anyway, this pen here, blue, might be really good for, it's long and thin. I mean, it's long and tapered. There's no bumps anywhere to get in your way of your fingers. You can move this back and forth as your desire takes you. This is a solid chunk of metal with a hard rubber or plastic thing here. This had some sort of paint or something on it that's coming off, but that's neither here nor there. It's really nice heavy thing. So this might be, if I can find a nib for this one, this might solve that issue for you. It does have a sack, but you can deal with it. But when I use these pens, when I use any Victorian dip pen nib, I'm always using it at my desk and I'm always dipping it. And when I dip it, because there's a feed, there's a hell of a lot of ink on that nib. So I don't have to dip it every third letter. I can go for a couple of sentences without having to redo it. Yeah. I think this would be a good example. Now I do see these things on eBay, these desk pens. And so, you know, somewhere down the road, if you like the way this works, you know, you can find those you can find others. These usually unscrew, and then there's a sack on them. Yeah. Well, the thing with a fountain pen nib, the reason that there's a hole in the nib is that it lets air in to compensate for the ink that's coming out of the reservoir. And if this isn't there, it may be sluggish. By adding a hole like you did in the feed, I'm not sure that's helping. It might, but I don't know that for sure. Fextonol, are you still here? Should I show you what he did with his feed? What he did with his feed is he drilled a hole. You can see through the bottom of the feed that comes up on the breather hole somewhere. So there is an extra feed. There's an extra hole in there, which may or may not, how it works, I do not know. But he was under the, he told me that it did work to a degree. I used to, I don't do it anymore, but I used to drill holes in the feed, in the nib of dip pen nibs, Frankenpen dip pen nibs that I was using to see if that would work. So they never worked to my degree of, you know, no, they didn't work for my purposes. They worked for Neville. Neville made them work for him. See, I write differently than when I'm doing calligraphy. I make more demands. I don't know. I think I really need a lot more ink at the get-go. So when I dip them, you know, the whole top and the bottom of the feed are full of ink. The top of the nib is full of ink. There's a lot of ink there. So I'm able to make these big swoopy, gushy lines. And I don't know whether any amount of drilling holes would make it work. I think it is, again, you know, about the cracking thing is part of it. I think that's what many of those holes were for. The downstroke has to be slow and wide. It keeps up. If you drop or feed that pen and try it out. Then, okay, I will do it later. I'm not going to do it right now. I still, because I've sort of played around with that nib and I pulled the feed out and put it back in, I have a feeling that, you know, the sweet spot that you planned for it, I'm not going to do anything to the feed, but you know, you might have had the thing situated in the pen in a certain way, and I don't want to try to second guess what that is. Okay, I will do that. I'll just fill it up. Get me an eyedropper. I'll be right back. Okay, this is Waterman Green Ink. Though, how I see that it's in a Waterman black bottle, so who knows whose green this originally was. Come on. 2 eyedropper fills of green. Blue, are you having fun talking live to me like this? Is this beneficial, do you think? And talking with other people? So far, so good. Huh? Well, I think it would be great if, Blue, you could figure out either use a phone to join us. You don't even have to have the camera, you know, facing you or even turned on. You can have it, put a piece of tape over it. Sometimes people in the room don't activate the camera. They just want their voice to be heard. And Friedrich is a good one for that because he always says he's not wearing any pants, which we don't see the truth or falsity of, but he sometimes doesn't wear a shirt. So maybe, Blue, you wander around with a platinum blonde wig and high heels, and you don't want us to see that, but slow down strokes that are fat won't keep up Speed Racer. Sometimes, there's so much play that happens with these pens, sometimes moving the feed out a little bit gives more ink. This is much wetter than it was. It's a brunette wig. I won't mention your real name, Mr. Clef, Mr. Blue, but it is a exotic name. I'll just leave it at that. There seems to be a lot of, seems almost like there's a lot of geography in that name. Can I say that? There's almost every letter in the alphabet 3 times over in that name. Not quite every letter. Anyway, it's the nib seems to be writing a lot better than it was when I first played with it today. Whether it will be to your standards, I do not know. But I think it works better, and I'm not getting the clicks that you were getting. Oh. Yeah. Well, when I send these things back to you, whatever you're getting back from me, you're going to end up with a lot of extra feeds to play around with. Now, the skyline, did you mean that to be returned? Because that wasn't on your list of ones that you bought. But I remember that you were, it seemed to me you were using the section and something to fit in the holder or doing something with it, right? I know you had mentioned the name of this guy, Norbert. Oh, okay. Well, see that this is the same size pen. This is the desk pen version of this pen. This is essentially a Skyline desk pen. So I think this is going to be perfect for you. I don't think that nib is going to go in here, though. The nib, the Victorian nib, will go in this pen. But I think this is a good. Now they did make. There might be a desk pen that they made that looks like this, but it can hold a fatter nib. I'd have to check my supply of these things to see, because they did make 2 sizes of Skyline nibs. And I think this one is this, I don't know if it's a smaller size or not. But again, the big deal with the Victorian nib is the feed has to be smaller than what normally would fit in there, because I don't want to distort the shape of the nib. So, you know, things are going to have to be played around. I do have smaller Victorian dip nibs too. I just got this one in the mail, this one right here, but this is tiny. And it's also not very, it's not very fine and it's not very broad. It's sort of, it's among the most boring dip pen nibs I've ever had. Now, if I hold it very, very lightly, I can get that fine line, but it doesn't get broad enough. Well, I don't think, you know, that feed will not fit in here. This particular pen. I may have one that it will fit in, but I think this is thinner. Kitty, I can't help you. Cat, what do you want from me, Kitty? My cat is so fucked. It wants to play, but the only place it plays is in the kitchen. It wants to sit on the floor in the kitchen and be admired. Doesn't want to sit on the floor next to my couch or in my bedroom. It wants to sit in the kitchen. I'll try to figure it out. I do have a lot of desk pens, and they can probably be made perfectly good for Victorian dip nibs and feeds. It's just the sockets. I don't have the sockets that would automatically work. Green marble desk pen set. I probably do. If it was green marble, it's probably a Schaefer, and a Schaefer socket, and a Schaefer pen might be big enough for a dip pen. I don't know if that was this one. This is an early Schaefer desk pen holder. This is a more later, slightly later pen, but only slightly later. If you find the video, that would be great. Again, I have it, I'm sure, and it's probably for sale. It's just that having it workable with the Victorian nib is another story. Cat, I can't help you. What do you want me to do? You want food? Go in there. Get in there. What do you want? Food. Here. Oh, okay. My cat is retarded. My cat is just whacked. Oh, let me see if I can find it. Bear Gustafson videos. Desk. Test. Okay, well, see, this was one of them. I see it right here. Test results. And I have no idea whether I'm even in. Can you see me in this picture. So when I'm also writing, I like seeing. Okay, the first one. The test was trying to figure out whether the socket was this one tight enough or whatever enough to keep the pen tip moist. There was a mother of a friend of mine who did not allow 3 words in her to be uttered anywhere near her eardrums: moist, turgid. Okay, there was another green one. This section has a slightly different shape to it than most disc pen sections that Schaefer put out, and maybe that helped it not dry out. I don't know. It's a weird section. I don't think it does belong on this pen. Okay, so there were 2 green ones, this one and another Schaefer. My cat does like catnip, but she's still crazy. She's a crazy cat. Crazy, crazy, crazy. My house is a disaster. My plugs don't stay in. They fall right out. They don't charge. So there was this one and there was another green. Then there was another green one. Okay, I know. Where do you want me to put you? A vibration will make it fall out. So the other one is green. I don't know where it is. I'll try to find it. A bunch of them fell on the floor the other day and broke. I don't think a green one was among them. Again, the thing, well, okay. The non-Victorian nib desk pen nib. Would you like that to be a really fine one? Fine nib? To get the fine nib thing out of your system? I mean, do we want to tick that box? How difficult, how easy would it be for you to hop on a plane and come up here for a day? We can just do it all face to face. That might be the best thing that ever happened. No, it's weird. It's not just. I need to sit down though on the couch and drink some water and try to see where I am with stuff. But I'm glad that we talked the way we did, Blue, and we will continue to talk and to do this. But let me just ask you to think about, is it a possible, could you take a flight up here and spend the day and stay the night, not necessarily here, but a nearby hotel, and hop on the plane and go back the next day? Would that be something you might like? That way we can sort of try a number of different things, and I get to understand what you're looking for more. But we'll talk. You don't have to answer publicly here right now. You can text me. Think about it. You might not have the ability. Okay. Not even on weekends you can't fly up. I'm going to be busy too for some of the time. I haven't scheduled when I'm going to go back to Minnesota, but anyway, we'll talk. I'm going to end this broadcast now, and we'll talk later. So it was nice seeing you. I'm glad I got that pen working, I think, better than it was. And I should have done it before I had sent it to you, but I was in a hurry those many moons ago. So anyway, we'll catch you later. Bye.